to grow, you will emerge much stronger. The Mexicans say, si no te mata, te engorda, or if it doesn't kill you, it'll fatten you. Our pain gouges us out in order for joy to fill us more deeply. And after great pain ceases, don't be surprised that you laugh much more profoundly. It was courage that got you through that pain, who reminded you that you can't go around it, can't go above it or below it. You have to go through it to reach the other side. Face it. Face it. Or as the samurai say, take arrows in your forehead, but never in your back. But there is one price too great to pay for peace, and that is the price of self-respect. Along with that spiritual investment, you will need to develop a solid inner core of values, your sixth tool. You can't set boundaries for yourself unless you can articulate those values and live them. They must be as integral to you as your bone marrow. It takes time and experience to solidify them and much self-reflection, often painful self-reflection. Flannery O'Connor, American short story writer, drew her characters from the quirky Deep South. In A Good Man Is Hard to Find, a grandmother who has led a superficial, trivial life up until the moment a psychopathic killer shoots her in the face, experiences the transcendent mystery of grace a few seconds before she dies. She finally comprehends her connection to humanity, even to the killer who stands before her. After her death, a henchman draws. She was a talker, wasn't she? She would have been a good woman, replies her killer, if it had been someone there to shoot her every day of her life. I have found one useful way to ensure that I keep my integrity. I put principles above personalities. Sometimes it's been heartbreaking in the short term, but deeply satisfying in the long run. As the poet and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in the conclusion of Self-Reliance, nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles. But I temper Emerson's advice with Mark Twain's. The weakest of all weak things is a virtue which has not been tested in fire. An untested virtue is no virtue at all. So test your principles in the crucible of life. And as you develop those values, they will dovetail with a very important tool, self-esteem, your seventh tool. How do you acquire self-esteem? Do esteemable things. If you seek approval outside of yourself, you set yourself up for self-pity and resentment. Self-esteem is an inside job. It should be based not on what others think, but on what you know you truly are. Focusing on my business and not yours is essential to my self-esteem. In addition, when I compare my insides to your outside, that's a form of spiritual suicide. You and I are lovable and unique no matter what anyone else thinks. I learned that I needn't take my stuff personally, and there's another paradox. My self-confidence comes from realizing that very little in life concerns me personally. That fact has helped me to practice forgiveness, a tool that I'll squeeze in here. Another person's action towards me says very little about me unless I have violated him or her. I simply don't let people live rent-free in my mind. And I accept the love of others because I have learned to love myself. The longest lasting relationship you will have is with yourself. Of all people you will know in a lifetime, you are the only one you will never leave or lose. So learn to love yourself. Abraham Lincoln, a man who was homely, vilified, and despised in his day, who presided over the closest our nation ever came to national suicide or civil war, said, "It is difficult to make a man miserable while he feels worthy of himself and claims kindred to the great God who made him." The next tool sounds like the opposite of the one that I've just discussed with you, self-esteem. The eighth tool is called get over yourself. Humorist Dave Barry said, "There comes a time when you should stop expecting other people to make a big deal out of your birthday." That time would be 11. If you are self-absorbed, you will be the only one that you fascinate. I am reminded of a consummate narcissist who said, "Enough about me, what do you think about me?" Bondage to self is a very unattractive human trait. St. Francis prayed, "Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be loved as to love, for it is in giving that we receive." Instead of questioning what life is giving us, perhaps we might profit more by asking what we ourselves can give. John Gardner said, "When people are serving, life is no longer meaningless." Find a cause greater than yourself and dedicate yourself to it. That cause will nudge out self-absorption. My cause has been teaching. When I discovered that students didn't care what I knew until they knew I cared about them, I could begin to become a real teacher. So listen to what your conscience demands of you and then carry it out to the best of your ability. The ninth and last tool is optimism. It's the one that sparkles like spirituality. I remember an epitaph in Salisbury Cathedral in England of a soldier who died in World War I, one Edward Wyndham. It read, "When things were at their worst, he would go up and down the trenches cheering the men. When danger was greatest, his smile was loveliest." Cultures that are optimistic, who hold hope for the future, especially for young people like you, are the most successful according to social psychologists. Luckily, you live in one of the most optimistic cultures in existence. That's a huge reason why so many people want to come live here and take extraordinary measures to do so. America believes in solutions because we are naive about complex issues and approach some problems with childlike innocence, but given a problem, Americans immediately try to find solutions. This trait is a very good one, even with its vulnerable underbelly. It has given us many gifts like the assembly line, the internet, the U.S. Constitution, and that great experiment known as democracy. So if your ox is in the ditch, get it out. Don't wallow with it in the muck and mire. Martyrs and doom romantic heroines look fine in literature, but are tedious and depressing in real life. When I can't figure out how to solve a problem, I get up out of my easy chair, go hunt someone smart and experienced who can, and then I listen. Negativity is a luxury you cannot afford. Besides, it's the crutch of the lazy. The world tomorrow will belong to those who brought it to it, the greatest hope today. Keep your face to the sunshine and you cannot see the shadows, said Helen Keller. The people and situations you encounter every day have their purpose and their beauty. Our happiness or misery depends on our attitude and not on our circumstances. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge Lauren Leonard out in the audience right now, a student who stayed optimistic despite some of the worst tragedies that can occur in human life. And she has been an inspiration to me. So you decide because the choice is yours. And it brings us full circle back to attitude. You are thus the architect of your own life. Okay, calling all minds back from Pluto. I'm homing in on my conclusion. It's been the highest honor of my professional career to earn the Excellence in Teaching Award so that I might have the privilege of speaking with you tonight. My thoughts will be with you as you conclude this very important phase of your life with this ritual. I recall the great philosopher Bill Waddington, the creator of the cartoon Calvin and Hobbes. In the last frame of his last cartoon, Calvin says to his stuffed tiger Hobbes, "It's a magical world, Hobbes, old buddy. Let's go exploring." So get out there and explore that magical world. But nurture the bug egg deep within while you're exploring. They will hatch someday, strong and beautiful, like the one from the applewood table.
In high school and college. He was also named the 2007 Richland College Student of the Year and an Orange and LaCroix Scholar. He has also received the President's Volunteer Service Award and Big Brother of the Year Award. Last night, Mr. Rowe also honored us by addressing his fellow graduates and urging all of you to strive for greater achievement. Please join me now in recognizing the accomplished graduated yesterday evening and represent us all so well. Richland's commencement celebration is one steeped in tradition and ritual. Tonight we continue a significant